not long ago, she was a rich girl who had everything. Her parents worked for the UK and India, so Mary grew up there. Her dad was busy with work. Her mom loved parties, so they never spent time with Mary. Of course, little Mary, like any kid, really wanted her mom to be with her. She cried and even broke her mom's pearl necklace, but her mom still left. She got so mad that she broke a little elephant statue on her mom's table. But then she picked it up, scared her mom wouldn't like her anymore because of it. But even when she did stuff like that, her mom didn't care, and her dad didn't either. They just left her with the servants all the time. This cold life made her a bad-tempered and lonely kid. She even saw her parents die in an earthquake, but didn't cry at all. She lived, but no one was there for her. The only family left was her Uncle Craven. So, 6 months later, she and other kids who lost their parents were sent back to England to live with their family. After the flight, the kids lined up, and their families came to get them. But when it was Mary's turn, the loudspeaker called her name a few times, but her uncle didn't show up. People were laughing, but Mary just stood there, no feeling on her face, because being alone and forgotten was normal for her. It got dark, and everyone left. Finally, her uncle's housekeeper arrived. The housekeeper checked her name and then just walked away, not even helping Mary with her bag. On the long trip, the housekeeper ate a chicken leg and didn't care if Mary was hungry. She also talked a lot about her boss's private life. Mary's aunt had died 10 years ago giving birth. Her uncle was really sad since then. He travels a lot to forget his pain. The housekeeper told Mary not to expect anything from her uncle. Mary was a little surprised because her mother never told her this stuff. Finally, in the early morning, Mary got to her uncle's big house in England. She was so tired from the trip. She hugged her broken elephant toy and slept for a whole day and night. The next morning, the housekeeper brought breakfast. Mary was sleepy and, like always, told the housekeeper to help her dress. But the housekeeper was having none of it. She told Mary to dress herself. She also said Mary couldn't walk around the big house. She had to stay in her room. Mary was furious and screamed and yelled, but the housekeeper just looked at her coldly and then walked out. This was the first time a servant had ever ignored Mary like that. She had no choice but to do things herself. She tried the breakfast but didn't like it. She looked outside and saw the pretty green fields. She was curious and really wanted to go out. So she ignored the housekeeper and tried to put on her shoes for the first time. After finally getting them on, she walked slowly and looked for a way out. Suddenly, she heard a faint sound of crying. It caught her attention. She followed the sound to a big wall carpet and accidentally found a hidden door behind it. She went through a dark, messy hallway and came to an old, dusty room with spider webs everywhere. It looked like time had stopped here, and it felt kind of spooky. She looked closely and was surprised. This room looked just like her mother's room used to. On the dressing table, there was an old photo. It showed her mom and another woman who looked exactly like her. She guessed the other woman must be her aunt. Also, in a jewelry box, she found a beautiful key. It was dusty, so people had forgotten it.
Mary kept looking for the crying sound, but she suddenly bumped right into the housekeeper. Ah! The housekeeper was really scared. She grabbed Mary's hand, dragged her back to her room, and warned her angrily, "If you walk around again, I'll twist your ear off." She acted like she was the boss of the house and Mary was just a maid. At lunchtime, the housekeeper didn't come. Instead, a nice, cheerful maid named Martha came. She was a bit older than Mary. Martha introduced herself. "I'm a maid here. I'll help you now." Mary liked this kind servant. She just stuck out her arms and told Martha to change her clothes. Martha wasn't mad. She thought Mary's behavior, like a small boss, was actually cute. To play a joke, Martha tickled her armpit while helping her dress. But Mary yelled loudly because she didn't like it. "Stop it!" Martha didn't get how sensitive Mary was. She even made a joke. "I thought your clothes from India would be a bit old-fashioned." This made Mary feel very offended. She got so angry she started hitting the wall and then threw herself onto the bed looking mad. Martha was shocked. She couldn't understand why a small joke would make Mary so upset. She quickly said sorry, but Mary didn't forgive her. To make her happy, Martha started talking about Mary's Uncle Craven. She said he was busy but would come to see her that evening. Mary was excited and waited for him all dressed up. But the housekeeper just came and said coldly, "Mr. Craven is busy planning his trip for tomorrow. He can't see you now." Sure enough, the next morning, her uncle left in a carriage. Mary felt even worse. To cheer Mary up, Martha helped her put on warm clothes and a hat and told her to go find her brother Dickon outside. Mary didn't find Dickon, but she found a cold, windy garden. Through the plants, she saw something. She saw a beautiful robin, a bird, chirping, like it was asking her to come in. Mary was excited and looked everywhere for the door, but she couldn't find it. A gardener nearby told her, "Your uncle locked the garden after your aunt died. Only the robin can go in. No one has been in for 10 years. Mary had to go home, sad. When Martha saw she didn't find the garden, she gave her a jump rope. Mary didn't know how to use it, so Martha showed her how. Mary learned fast. They say exercise makes you happy. Mary finally smiled for the first time. She was so happy, she thanked Martha. This was the first time she ever said thank you to anyone. Later, the gardener told her, "The robin likes you. It wants to be your friend." Mary was super happy to have a friend. She wished out loud to the robin that she could enter the garden. The robin actually flew up and showed her the entrance to the garden. It was a very old, locked door. Mary remembered the key from her aunt's room and went to get it. With a deep, scraping sound, the big door slowly opened. Ivy plants were hanging all over it like a curtain. Mary held her breath and went through. The garden was full of weeds and looked very old and forgotten, but in all that dry stuff, she saw a little bit of new green life popping out. This made her happy. She loved the place right away. She decided she would clean it up and make it beautiful again. After working hard all afternoon, she was very hungry that night. The dinner she didn't like before tasted great this time. While eating, the sad crying sound came again. Mary asked what it was, but Martha lied and said it was just the wind. Mary was confused. She thought there was a secret behind the crying. But as she tried to ask more, the housekeeper ran in quickly. The housekeeper forced Mary out of the room, maybe because she didn't want Mary to find the secret.
Later, Mary went back to the garden. She turned a corner and almost crashed into a crow. It scared her a lot. Just then, a boy called the crow back. The crow belonged to the boy, Deacon. He said the crow was friendly. Mary felt brave and gently touched the crow. The crow was nice, and Mary and Deacon became friends. Mary then asked Deacon to come into the secret garden with her. When Deacon saw the old garden, he knew it wasn't dead. He cut the tree bark and saw the green color underneath. He was sure that after the cold winter, the garden would be full of flowers in the spring. Then they found a swing. Mary remembered her mother liked swings. Maybe because she missed her mom, she had a bad dream that night. In the dream, her mother was smiling and calling her from the garden.
She ran to her, but her mother suddenly vanished, and little Mary was crying hard. Mary woke up from the bad dream. Half awake, she heard the sad crying sound again. She decided to find out where it came from. She went into a fancy room and saw a thin boy lying in bed. The boy saw her too. They were both surprised. The boy was Colin, her uncle's son and Mary's cousin. He had been sick since he was born and couldn't walk. His dad never saw him because his mom died when Colin was born. He only saw the housekeeper and nurses. This loneliness made Colin cry a lot at night. Crying was the only way he could feel better. Mary thought about her own past. To make Colin happy from that day on,
she and Deacon worked in the garden during the day, and at night, Mary snuck into Colin's room to talk and play games. One day, Mary felt hot and wanted to open the window for fresh air, but Colin yelled at her to stop. He thought the outside air had deadly germs and would kill him. Mary said, "If the air is so bad, why are Deacon and I running and breathing fine outside?" But Colin didn't believe her. As they were arguing, they heard the housekeeper coming. Mary hid under the bed. The housekeeper and Martha came in wearing masks. They started exercising Colin's legs. Martha suddenly saw Mary's shoe sticking out from under the bed. When the housekeeper went out to get medicine, Martha quickly told Mary to come out and leave fast. If the housekeeper found her, it would be a big problem. To protect her friends, Mary left quietly. The next morning, Mary was going to the garden, but she heard her uncle had suddenly come back, and he wanted to see her. The housekeeper took her to his room. When she went in, a big, scary dog barked and scared her. Luckily, her uncle stopped the dog. He was sad. but not scary like people said. When Mr. Craven saw Mary, he was shocked because she looked just like his dead wife. He felt all his sadness and missing her at once. The housekeeper wanted to send Mary to boarding school, but he asked Mary what she wanted. Mary cried and begged him to let her stay. "I don't need much, just a piece of land to grow plants." Mr. Craven agreed, but he warned her that because his wife died, the house and land had no life left. He told her not to expect anything to grow. Mary didn't care. She happily told Dickon, and they planted seeds everywhere in the garden. They hoped the garden would be full of colorful flowers. That night, she and Colin played a puzzle game. They got a little mad at each other during the game. Mary got angry and said to Colin, "Your dad is back, but he doesn't even want to see you." This made Colin really sad. He truly believed his dad hated him. But that wasn't totally true. Mr. Craven lost his wife a long time ago. He knew Colin was weak and was afraid he would lose him too. So he ran away. But he missed Colin. At night, he would secretly open the door and look at his sleeping son, but he couldn't stay because it reminded him of his wife. This time, he left again soon after coming back. Time passed. Winter ended, and spring came. The sad garden slowly started to get green again. It was like magic. The garden was coming back to life. To let Colin see the beautiful spring, Mary took down the wooden board on his window while the housekeeper was out. The sun shone into the dark room for the first time. Colin was shocked and scared. When he saw Mary and Dickon playing happily outside, he broke down and started to cry uncontrollably. The servants came running, but couldn't stop him. Mary rushed in and yelled at him, calling him a coward and saying he wasn't sick because sick people can't yell so loudly. To prove it, Mary pulled up his shirt and saw he was only thin, nothing else wrong. Just then, the housekeeper stormed in, very angry. She ordered the servants to tie Colin up and then slapped Martha and fired her. Colin yelled at the housekeeper, telling her to get out right now. The housekeeper froze. She couldn't believe the weak, quiet young master was talking to her like that. But she was just a servant, so she held her anger and left quietly. Only Colin and Mary were left. Mary helped Colin see that he wasn't sick. He got brave and decided to go outside to see the world, especially his mother's garden. But when they went downstairs, the housekeeper and her staff tried to stop them. Colin had to act like the boss and tell everyone to move away and not follow him. Dickon carefully pushed Colin's chair, and Mary led the way. Finally, the three of them arrived at the secret garden. Colin was amazed by the view. It was more beautiful than he thought. Bright flowers were everywhere, and old trees stood tall. The robin had made a home in a tree and was feeding its babies. Colin laughed happily.
The gardener heard him and came over.
He was surprised. Colin was not like the stories he heard. The only thing that was the same was that he couldn't use his legs. To prove he wasn't sick, Colin stood up and tried to walk. The gardener was so happy he almost cried. He had taken care of the garden for years before it was locked. Now that it was beautiful again, he was very happy and decided to help the kids take care of it. Colin tried to walk and actually took a few steps. His friends cheered and hugged him. That night, Colin was so excited he couldn't sleep. He really wanted to call his dad and tell him he was well. The room was full of old yellowed photos of his wife. As they looked at the pictures, Mary and Colin fell asleep. The next morning, they snuck out to play again. Colin, who was just learning to walk, wanted to push Mary in a small cart. But he walked too much, and his feet got swollen. The housekeeper thought he was getting worse. She wouldn't let him go out and angrily locked Mary in her room. But Mary used the secret passage to sneak out and met up with her friends. The three of them went to the field, made a fire, and wished that Colin's father would come home soon.
That night, Mr. Craven, who was far away, dreamed of his wife. He woke up and thought he heard her calling him from the garden. He felt like his son was in danger. He rushed back home right away and ran to Colin's room, but it was empty. The housekeeper came running and blamed Mary, saying she probably took Colin, but Mary's room was empty too. Then Martha suddenly realized they were probably in the garden. Mr. Craven felt very worried. After thinking for a moment, he finally decided to open the garden door. He was shocked. The garden was alive again, and his son, who should be in a wheelchair, was standing in the sun and playing. He could hardly believe what he saw. When his hand touched Mr. Craven, he felt something different. He touched the person's face. The familiar face made him take off the blindfold. It was his dad. They looked at each other with so much love and care. Dickon was so moved he started to cry. Then Mary, who never cried, ran to a tree and burst into tears. Even though she looked strong outside, she had a very soft heart inside. Meanwhile, Colin was walking with his dad in the garden. He was happy to show his dad the robin family and the beautiful plants. He told his dad, "I can walk now, all thanks to Mary's help." Mr. Craven finally understood that Mary was the reason. He went to Mary full of thanks and sincerely thanked her. He asked Mary to stay and live happily with them. This made Mary feel relief, and she finally accepted the house as her home. They all hugged tightly, enjoying the happy moment. In the evening, the three of them walked back to the house in the warm air. Colin's confident walking shocked all the servants. Even the housekeeper finally believed that Mary wasn't joking. Colin was truly well again. She smiled happily and hugged Martha, celebrating. From that day, the house was no longer sad, and the garden was no longer a secret. It would come back to life every spring